You've been there, right? As an engineer, you've spent hours tuning a system. You run the measurements, and everything looks, well, perfect on paper. The frequency response is ruler flat, distortion is crazy low, but then you hit play, and it just sounds off. Something's missing.
So what's the deal? Why do these technically perfect measurements so often lead to a listening experience that's just meh? Well, that's the big question we're going to tackle today. And trust me, the answer is a fascinating trip that connects the gear we trust with the actual experience we're trying to create.
You see, here's the fundamental disconnect. Our measurement tools, they live in the world of physics. They give us the hard data, frequency response, total harmonic distortion, all that good stuff. But our ears, they live in the world of perception. It's not just about objective data, it's about the subjective experience. It's about how it feels. And those two things, they're not always speaking the same language.
So how do we build a bridge between those two worlds? Well, the missing link, the secret ingredient, is psychoacoustics. It's the science of how we actually perceive sound. And getting a handle on this is what can take an engineer from just good to truly great.
All right, so our first big clue in solving this audio mystery is something called masking. You can think of it as the invisible sound, and believe me, it is happening all the time, shaping literally everything you hear.
Now here's the mind-blowing part. Your audio system could be reproducing two different sounds perfectly. I mean, sending both signals to the speakers without a single error. But because of masking, your brain might only register one of them. The louder sound basically makes the quieter one completely invisible to you.
And what's really wild is that this isn't just some simple one-off effect. Masking plays out in two totally different dimensions, across different frequencies, and also across time itself. So let's break that down.
Okay, check this out. This is a classic example of what we call frequency masking. Imagine you're listening to a nice clean tone at 1 kilohertz. Now, what if we sneak in a second, much quieter tone right next to it at 1.1 kilohertz? Poof, it's gone. The louder tone just swallows it whole. But, and here's the trick, if we move that quieter tone way up to say 3 kilohertz, suddenly you'd hear both of them just fine. And this isn't just a cool party trick, right? This is the absolute magic behind how MP3s work. They literally throw away the audio information they know is going to be masked anyway, saving you a ton of file space. It's also why a huge booming bass note can completely muddy up a vocal track. Sometimes a tiny cut in the bass can make the mid-range feel twice as clear. Not because you added anything, but because you unmasked what was already there.
So that's frequency. But what about time? Well, this is called temporal masking. A really loud, sudden sound, like a kick drum. It creates this sort of auditory shadow around it. It can completely blot out quieter sounds that happen just milliseconds before or after it, like the subtle decay of a reverb tail. Again, your system is playing it perfectly, but your brain just never even gets the memo.
Okay, clue number 2. This one is huge. We spend all this time trying to get our systems to have a perfectly flat frequency response. But here's the kicker. Our own ears are anything but flat. And the way they hear things changes, like a lot, depending on the volume.
So this whole idea is captured by what are called equal loudness curves. This was originally mapped out way back by 2 researchers named Fletcher and Munson, and it's now standardized. Basically, these curves show us that for our brain to perceive all frequencies as being at the same volume, their actual physical energy has to be totally different.
And you know this from your own experience. Think about it. When you're listening to music quietly, what do you hear? Mostly the mid-range, right? The bass and the sparkly high-end just seem to vanish. But as you crank up the volume, whoa, the bass comes roaring back, the treble gets crisp, and the whole thing sounds way more balanced and full. That's the equal loudness curve in action.
So what's the big takeaway for us as engineers? It's simple. You can't trust a system that you've only tuned at one volume. You just can't. This is precisely why it is so critical to have a consistent reference listening level. In fact, a lot of pro studios calibrate their monitors to 83 dB SPL so that everybody is hearing things from the same perceptual starting point.
So we have masking, and we have these wacky loudness curves. Okay, let's put these clues together and finally crack the case of why our measurements in our ears just don't seem to get along. This is it. This is the absolute heart of the matter. A measurement might say you have 0.5% of distortion, but it doesn't say if that distortion is a warm, even-order harmonic or a harsh, nasty-sounding one. It might say your frequency response is off by 2 decibels, but it doesn't tell you how. And our perception is unbelievably sensitive to the how.
Okay, look at this. We've got 2 systems. System A measures better on paper, right? It's only off by plus or minus 1 dB. But look at that response. It's all jagged and spiky. Now, System B is technically worse at plus or minus 2 dB, but its deviation is just this one broad, smooth, gentle tilt. Now, which one do you think sounds better, more natural? I guarantee you almost everyone is going to pick System B. Our ears can forgive smooth, wide curves, but they absolutely hate sharp little peaks and dips. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is backed by some serious research. The incredible team over at Harman International did massive studies and proved that despite what old-school engineering books tell you, a perfectly flat response is not what most people actually enjoy listening to. Nope. Listeners consistently prefer a little bit of a bass boost and a gentle, smooth roll-off in the treble. This is now famously known as the Harman target curve.
So, after all this, what does it mean for us? It means we need a new mission, a new mandate. It's time to stop engineering just for the microphone and the analyzer and start engineering for the human ear.
If you only remember 3 things from all this, make it these. 1. Masking is real, and it matters. A tiny tweak on an EQ can have a huge perceptual impact. 2. Loudness matters. Always work at a consistent and calibrated volume level. And 3. Perception is king. Your measurements are an essential tool for sure, but they are not the end goal.
Now, the point isn't to throw out your measurement tools. Absolutely not. They're critical for finding problems and for being consistent. The real art, the real magic, is in using both. Use the objective data to get you in the ballpark, but always let your ears, your critical, subjective listening be the final umpire. Great audio is born right there, in that space between the numbers and the nuance.
Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Nobody goes out and buys a new set of speakers because they saw a cool-looking frequency plot. They buy them for the experience, for how music makes them feel. And understanding psychoacoustics is what gives us the power to engineer that experience on purpose. Because we don't ship measurements, we ship what people hear.